things that I posted on Instagram that had people kind of talking to me and asking questions about boundaries is I posted a quote, and the quote says, "The only people who get upset about you setting boundaries are the people who are benefiting from you having none." The only people who get upset about you setting boundaries are the people who benefit from you having none. Y'all, that's deep. That's deep. One, because it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. So the question is, like, what are boundaries? How do I set boundaries? And so that's what I kind of wanted to hit on tonight. So one of the things that I want to make sure that you that you understand, and to know that I know that we are creatures of connection and community. I mean, God made Adam, and then he had to back door and say, you know, he need a companion. So now I'm going to put Adam asleep, take a rib, and we're going to fashion woman, right? Because we are creatures of connection. We are people who want to be in community. We want to have relationships with other people. And so therefore, sometimes we are afraid to put boundaries in place because we don't want to lose that connection or that person. So sometimes we put up with people and we put up with their patterns and things that are not healthy or beneficial to us because we fear being alone. More the reason as to why we should set boundaries. So why have boundaries? Hi, Michelle. Tell me what you're drinking in the comments. Why have boundaries? One is because, just like I was saying, that we are creatures of connection and we want community. And so sometimes we find ourselves putting up with people's crap, putting up with things that we don't want to put up with for fear of that person walking out of our life or for fear of that person leaving us. But why set boundaries? Because you have to understand that you deserve to be loved, right? You deserve to be desired. You deserve to be wanted for who you are. That's one. You also have to know that you don't need to devalue yourself by accepting disrespect from other people in hopes that they will change. Because we don't have control over other people. We only have control over ourselves. And so I cannot hope that you will change, and I continue to put up with the things that I am saying that I don't want to put up with, or the patterns that are unhealthy to me, because I'm hoping that you will change, right? So boundaries are important for healthy relationships. One, you have to own your feelings. You have to be able to sit with yourself and be aware of your feelings so that you can know what it is that your values are, and then you acknowledge your feelings. So the question is, so that's why we have to have boundaries. That's why I believe that we have to have boundaries, is because you don't want to devalue yourself, one, and you want to be able to express to others what it is that you are comfortable with, so that you can be in community and be in connection and be in relationship with others. But you want those relationships and that connection to be healthy. Yes, boundaries are important absolutely. Boundaries are important for healthy relationships. I deal with the boundary breaker. Yes. So what are boundaries? So sometimes it's hard for us to set boundaries because we don't know exactly what they are. First of all, boundaries are not for the other person. Sometimes we think, I'm setting boundaries for you. No. You setting boundaries for yourself. Because like I said, we can't change the other person. If we were setting boundaries for other people, then we are expecting them to change. But the thing is, I'm not responsible for your change. I'm only responsible for my own. And so I'm setting the boundary for myself because I'm realizing what it is that is mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, what's draining me. So I have to know what those things are that's draining me, And I have to know what are my values, because if I'm setting a boundary, I have to know my why. If you don't know your why, then you're like, your boundary is going to be falter. Your boundary is going to be shaky. Your boundary is going to be something that you're going to compromise on. So you have to know, what are my values? What is my why? Because if it's going to drain me, if I know that I am not mentally capable of handling something, I have to be able to put something in place and be able to let you know that, hey, I can't handle that. Right? So what are boundaries? Boundaries, limits, are limits that you establish in order to protect yourself. So it's not for the other person. Point to yourself and say, boundaries are for me. I have to know what it is that I can put up with and what it is that I can deal with, right? And so that's why I say for you to sit and get to know yourself. You got to sit and get to know what you know yourself, so therefore you can know what those things are. And so they are guidelines based on expectations of how you expect to be treated. Y'all heard the saying growing up, like, treat people the way you want to be treated, or teach people how to treat you. So I have to teach you how to treat me by letting you know that these are my guidelines and these are my expectations of how I want to and I expect to be treated. Okay. So what are boundaries? Boundaries are clear consequences. So y'all, most of you guys who follow me know that I do this, but then I also work in a school setting as a school counselor. And so I had a student sitting in my office actually this week, and we were talking about boundaries. And that's why I opened it up with, we are people of connection and community. And so sometimes we're afraid to set those boundaries because we are afraid to lose those relationships. But then I have to sit and ask myself, like, is this mentally healthy for me? Like, if I gotta walk away feeling like crap every single time I'm with you, then I need to check this relationship. And by me checking this relationship, I'm being able to decide, am I mentally able to put up with whatever X, Y, and Z is going on? And so when I was talking with that student, she was like, you know, this person drains me. This person makes me feel bad about myself, and I don't like that feeling. And so then I asked them, so, well, why are you still cultivating this relationship? And so she says, because I don't want to lose them. But am I actually losing something? She's like, I don't want to lose them because I want to still be friends with them, because if I'm not friends with them, then I'm going to lose all of my other friends. And so then we started to talk about consequences, because I had to ask her what she valued, right? So then we had to start talking about consequences, because when we have those boundaries, we have to have clear consequences and clear expectations. Because like I was telling her, and like I'm telling you, you cannot change the other person. But what I can change is I can change how I deal with you, right? I can change how I deal with you. So boundaries are pretty much like a fence as well. And so like I used to always say, like, Jesus be a fence, right? Jesus be a fence around me. And so that means I want you to cover me and put this boundary around me, because I want the good stuff inside, and then the bad stuff, or the things that are going to be harmful to me or bring harm to me, I want them on the outside. Okay. And so we can kind of look at a boundary as a fence. So basically, I want to fence off the good stuff and block off those things that are not going to be good for me or not going to be beneficial for me. That makes that makes my heart hurt. But we're working on it, and she's working through it. She's working through it. So the thing is, what I've had people say, okay, well, we hear about boundaries and people talk about boundaries, and I know I should have boundaries, but how do I set boundaries? I don't even know what that means. I don't know what that look like. And so, like somebody said, that their heart hurts for the student that I was talking to. So one of the things that we have been working through is what boundaries look like and how do I set boundaries. And so I want to talk with you about how to set boundaries. So I'm going to talk to you about 3 things about how to set boundaries. So the first thing is we have to communicate clear expectations. And so communicating clear expectations means that I am going to talk to the person that I'm in a relationship with, whether that's a spouse, whether that's a lover, whether that's a friend, is I'm going to talk to you about what it is that I want, what it is that I need, what it is that I expect, what it is that I will accept, and what it is that I will not accept. So how do I do that, Nakia? One, I'm going to use I statements. I'm going to tell you, I feel X, Y, and Z, or what I would like, or what I would appreciate. So I'm going to use I statements so that I can clearly state to you what it is that my expectations are. This is what I am going to need. This is what I desire. This is what I want. And so years ago, my husband and I had a teenager to live with us. And so this was back in the time when cell phones were not this big of it. I think we actually still had pagers, I believe. I think it was still pagers. So it was not cell phones. I know we had a house phone. So we had the house phone. And so I had to get up and go to work early in the morning. Whereas school, she was out of school. She had nothing to do. And so she would probably sleep all day when I wasn't there. And so guess what? She was on the phone all night. And so we had the house phone, and in her room, the phone will ring because her friends will call late at night. 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, the phone is ringing. And so I knew that I needed to put a boundary in place, right? So I needed to tell you what my expectations were. So we had to have a discussion. So it had to be clear. So I had to tell her what I expect, right? So I would like for you to tell your friends not to call after, and we established the time. And so she had to, somebody said, shut up, laugh out. Yes, it was a long time ago with pages. I know I date myself on these things, right? On these lives. So yeah, so I had to set that expectation with her by us having that clear communication and me letting her know what it is that I expected. Then I talked about the behavior. So one, you talk about the behavior without attacking the person, right? So the behavior was, people are calling late at night. That's not acceptable in this house. I got to go to work early in the morning. And so I need for you to talk to your friends and let them know not to call after whatever time it was that we set. So I stated what my desire was, what my expectation was. Clear communication by me telling you what it is that I need, what it is that I'd appreciate. I'm talking about the behavior, not attacking you as a person, and I'm stating what my desire and my expectation is. The second thing about setting boundaries is consequences. This is what my student did not want to do because she did not want to lose her friend, right? So when you're setting boundaries, you have to decide beforehand what the consequence is going to be. Decide, and I say decide beforehand what the consequence is going to be, because once you know what that consequence is, then you can apply that consequence without, sometimes what we do sometimes is we can be biased about the consequence, and we give people chance after chance after chance because, oh, that's so-and-so, or oh, that's so-and-so. Whereas we may say the consequence is this, but then for this person, we put that consequence in effect. But then for the next person, because the relationship is different or we feel differently about that person, that we don't. So we have to be clear on the consequence. And so I let her know the consequence will be that I will take the phone out your room. You won't have a phone. So, and I also said, you can tell them or I can tell them. And teenagers don't want to be embarrassed. So you can tell them that they cannot call off after such and such time, because if I have to pick up the phone, I'm going to tell them, and then I'm going to take the phone out of your room. You won't have access to that. And so that was the consequence. So it had to be a clear consequence for her to understand. So setting a clear consequence. And then the last thing is following through on what you say. You can be compassionate, but firm. So follow through. So those are the steps for setting the boundaries. Because like I said, sometimes people are like, I don't know how to set boundaries. So that's the things. You're going to have clear communication, right? Clear communication of your expectations. You're going to use I statements. You're going to address the behavior, not attack the person. Then you're going to state what it is that you desire. Clear communication. That's what the clear communication consists of. Number two is consequences. Consequences for the boundary, not for somebody crossing or breaking that boundary. What is the consequence going to be? Establish that beforehand. You got to know how to deal with people, right? So you're going to have the consequence. And then the number 3 is follow through. Follow through on the consequence. So that's how you set a boundary. So hopefully, because like I said, y'all, I'm sorry. I'm so tired. I probably was talking really fast, but I'm hella tired. It's been a long day. But I knew that that was something that that I wanted to discuss because, like I said, because of that post, and you know, I was just kind of dealing with that student, and that's some of the things that we're working on is how to set a boundary and realizing the reason that boundaries are important and why they're important in relationships. Because I have to let you know what it is that I am willing to put up with, what it is that I am willing to deal with. And then if that boundary is crossed, then I have to know how I'm going to deal with you from here on out. And so that is me putting that consequence in place, and that is me following through on the consequence and me not wavering on that. Okay? So y'all tell me if y'all have any questions in the comments. Tell me if you have any and what is your takeaway? What is something that you can say that you can take away from tonight? As I sip out of my mug. What is something that you can take away on tonight? How should I handle a boundary with a boyfriend? I don't know what I should make the consequence. So tell me, what is it that you mean? So somebody said, how do I handle the boundary of a boyfriend? And as far as the consequence, I would need a little bit more information on that. So one, having that discussion with the boyfriend. Have you had that discussion with the boyfriend as far as what your expectation is? And do you know why you have that boundary? Because remember, we talked about, you got to know the why behind the reason that you're setting the boundary. Why is that valuable to you? Hi, Soul Work Cafe. How are you? Hi, I am Queen T. What's happening, girl? Tell me what you're drinking. Tell me what you're drinking. And then I know sometimes we say, I don't know what to make the consequences. Sometimes we have to know when to fold them, y'all. He just disregards me every time. So what is the consequence, though? What should you make the consequences? What you're, oh, my thing is thinking. Okay. And then what is this behavior that has been going on before you guys got together? So that's another thing. So sitting down, one is sitting down and have that I statement conversation with them. You know, why is that your boundary and what the consequence is going to be. So have you done that? Number 4 is the follow through. Because we have to communicate the boundary, communicate the expectation, and communicate the consequence, and then follow through. So it may be missing that follow through piece, especially. And so what compromise can you guys come up with? Can he have his own mini fridge? Because it sounds like you guys probably live together. Mm-hmm. Yes, 5 minutes and a post. Good Lord, that's a lot. He needs that much. So all of them are filled with that? That's a lot. That's a whole heck of a lot. That's a whole heck of a lot. Yes. It sounds like there's going to have to be some more. There's going to have to be probably going to have to be some more discussion with the two of you. Like, do you guys have a therapist, or a coach that you're working with as far as with your relationship, because that's going to be a little bit deeper. It's going to be a little bit deeper as to why that's an issue, especially if you've been following through with the consequences, and then, you know, some things for you to sit down and ask yourself and reflect on. Yeah. Hey, Tarplex has my heart. Hey, Cafe Con Charla. How are you? Okay. All right, y'all. I'm just trying to look and see if I have any more going on down here. Hey, Sharonda. Okay. I mean, and I hate to say it. I see your thing is about moving out. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's another thing. Sometimes we have to know when it's time to move on. You got to know when it's time to move on. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you, girl. So Sharonda said, Sharonda loves my shadow. Girl, it's been a long day, so thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But yeah, so guys, I'm going to get ready and shut this down because it's time for me to go, and you know, I'm setting my boundaries and dealing with some, and you know, going to participate in some self-care. It's so pretty. Thank you so much. Thank you. But yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk about with boundaries and relationships are the things that good information. Know your why. Yes, know your why. Anybody else want to drop in the comments? What's your takeaway? You got to know your why. You got to know your why for setting the boundary. You got to know your why. Why is that important to you? And a lot of times knowing your why is you sitting down and you're going to have to determine what your values are. Determining what your values are. That's how I determine my why. Because that's what I'm going to go back on. That's what I'm going to always go back to. And also knowing that boundaries, this is, I don't know how many times I need to stress this, because I hear this all the time. Like, you know, boundaries are for you. The boundaries are for you because, like I said, you can't change nobody else, but you can change how you deal with them. You can definitely change how you deal with them. And so Sharonda said, I missed it. I'm closing out tonight, girl. I'm closing out a little bit early, but we just kind of talked about boundaries and just kind of talked about how to set them. So one of the things we talked about, that I was talking about, is having that clear communication. So knowing your why, knowing your values, knowing the expectations that you have, and then with your partner or the person you're in relationship with, is having the clear communication. And the way we have that clear communication is using the I statements: I need, or I feel, or I would appreciate if, and then making sure that we discuss the behavior or the action, and not attacking the person when we're having the clear communication with the person. And then also making sure that you have consequences, and you relay those consequences to the person that you're talking to. You're going to have to relay what's going to happen if this boundary is crossed. They're going to have to know what the consequence is going to be, and then you following through. I mean, you know, we sometimes as parents, some of us who are on here who are parents, sometimes we say we're going to do things and then we don't. I'm going to take your phone. I'm going to take your phone. I'm going to take your phone if you do X, Y, and Z, and then you don't take the phone. And so guess what's going to happen? X, Y, and Z is going to continue to happen, because boundaries teach people how to treat us. And so if I'm telling you that I need you, like I said, with the girl, if I need you to tell you I need you to get off the phone, and you keep getting on the phone, and I'm not going to ever follow through by me saying I'm going to take your phone, then guess what you're going to do? You're going to keep getting on the phone. Because I've just taught you that my words don't matter, and you can do whatever the heck you want to do. Okay? So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. Follow and like. Yes, follow and like. You guys share this live with someone who you feel keeping your word, yes, is essential. Absolutely. Keeping your word is essential. You guys follow Next Stage Counseling, CW. And then next stage CW. Y'all, I told y'all I'm tired. You see how this, y'all follow me at Next Stage CW. Hit the notification button so you can see any other time that I'm going live. Also, like and share this boundaries video with anybody that you feel like is in need of it. And then go on the page and comment. Go on the page and let us know what your biggest takeaways were. Thank you. Good night. You're welcome. You're welcome. I appreciate you guys so much. I love you to pieces. You guys have a wonderful, blessed night. And remember, when you set your boundaries, make sure that you know your why. Make sure that you communicate it with those you're communicating it to, and it's clear. And you state the expectations, you state the consequence, and don't be afraid to follow through. All right? So I'll talk to you later. This is what I'm talking about. See? I can't even talk. I'm so